common gameplay with each other. What do you think?
I'm taking a quick look here through RJF's deck, and I think I'm going to be a little surprised here.
What do you see?
A handful of ranged mechs, 4 ER large laser Hunchback 2C, the double PPC summoner, which is a beast, by the way. Assassin, the light mech's definitely brawlers. Assassin, obviously, basically a light mech. Supernova with large pulse ER Mead, so a couple ranged decks, a couple brawlers, and kind of a mid-range Supernova here.
Definitely have a little bit of trading right off the bat, right down this corridor here as White Death Mercenary moves up. They have their Kodiak, they have some PPCs going back and forth, the Marauder 2C, of course, running right up the front, but RJF setting way back on cakes with their initial summoners. Those are, of course, nipple PPC summoners. Very, very high mounts on those summoners. They're able to do a lot of really effective peeking.
And they've got some great jump jets on them, too.
And they've got those jump jets, which give them a lot of that early toss. So they got a lot of early damage in on White Death, but it was pretty extreme range. Theta has fallen to White Death Mercenary Company. They have 3 mechs that jumped up on there. So it is 3 caps for RJF to 2 caps on White Death Mercenary Company. They actually had a light mech, this assassin actually, came all the way over to Epsilon and got that early cap. So White Death Mercenary Company, while they do control that central location with Theta, they are outcapped at the moment and will at some point need to make a move to one of those outside caps. Looks like that assassin is kind of just ghosting around Epsilon, just waiting to see if somebody comes in to switch it back. The Kodiak has tucked in towards Theta side from the Sigma area where he was before. Ooh, nasty PPC right to the backside. That summoner getting a really high look at him, and he's down to 82%. Looks like we had a nice strike right across the night gear. So far, a lot of trading going down, but I would say White Death Mercenary Company straight up out-traded at this point in the early game.
Yeah. White Death feels like they're a little pinned down at the moment. A little stagnant right on Theta.
They have swapped Epsilon over, so they do have caps back in their control. They could potentially work that for a while. Some great airstrikes coming in. That one just fell short, but they are pummeling them with them. But Sigma now is going to be pressured by Buria in that Arctic Cheetah, and if memory serves, that Arctic Cheetah is rolling, I think he's got, let's see here. He's got 6 clan machine guns and 3 ER medium lasers. Wrong button.
And it looks like White Death Mercenary Company is kind of seeding Theta right now, backing up into the Foxtrot, Echo 4, Echo 5, Fox 4, Fox 5 area. And
we might see a little bit of a fight here. Marauder 2C and the Kodiak moving up. They're going to try and stop this cap on Theta. They get it. They do stop the cap. But Cody in that Kodiak 3 moving right up into the middle of
I'm not sure they realize there's a lot of RJF mechs on Theta right now.
There are, but
is beat up.
Honestly, I think White Death Mercenary... Ooh, the Kodiak goes down. I think they kind of got him where they want him, but that was a nasty firing arc, basically, pointed straight at that ramp, and that Kodiak paid for it.
Marauder 2C for White Death Mercenary Company is getting pounded right now on the ramp.
The Nova has come up the right side, and he's 1v3, down to 70%. They do get that Supernova down, and that Nova is able to get back around the corner. A lot of gunfire going on, a lot of people just severely hurt here. Pelmashek in that Arctic Cheetah right up on the other side of the building is that Nova, and those machine guns coming in on the other Nova with Kavi. He is completely surrounded right now, and it looks like he is going down. So one of the Novas go down. 2 dead now for White Death Mercenary Company.
And they're jumping on that Marauder 2C with the Arctic Cheetah. He's got 1 torso open. If he can take him down, White Death Mercenary Company is going to be in a world of hurt right now. They're going to lose their other assault mech.
The other Nova is lagged at this point, too. He still has his weapons, but they are getting in on that Marauder 2C.
Is 1 touch, and this Arctic Cheetah is going for
team kill! Night Gear with Ko gets a team kill on that Marauder 2C. He wasn't long for the world anyways, but 3 dead for White Death Mercenary Company, 2 dead.
Night Gear is almost down.
That Arctic Cheetah coming in.
On him.
They need. He legs Buria. They do get the Night Gear, but the other Arctic Cheetah has come in and got the leg on him. Pelmashek, though, is right behind him. Looks like he's going to join the fight, and we're going to have a 2v1. Actually, 2v2. The other Arctic Cheetah has joined it. Burrier goes down, and now they're going to try and jump in with that Night Gear in tow to try and take out Pelmashek. If they can take out both lights for RJF, they might be able to start flipping this back around, but Pelmashek swiftly gets out of harm's way. CHRX getting shot by the Arctic Cheetah, the Supernova, and a very distant summoner. Those summoners are fresh.
There, and that hurt.
Those summoners are fresh, and they are going to be very, very hard to contend with. Cap still rolling in favor of RJF, and there's only 2 mechs remaining. Not looking good for White Death Mercenary Company. I think this 22% on the assassin.
Still an assassin on the field for RJF. And even though those summoners are fast enough that you can't outcap them, not on a map this size.
It would take a miracle at this point. Oh, that Arctic Cheetah just lands right in front of that assassin. Surprise! He's stuck, but he might be able to take down that assassin. It looks like he's got a leg, and well, the other light mech is down. So all that's left is this 50% Arctic Cheetah. I can't believe he hasn't been able to kill this assassin. Down to 16%, and they finally take him out. And RJF Black Spikes takes drop 1, 8-4. Any report on how the stream health is?
Looks like people are able to watch it, so I think switching ingest servers must have worked there.
Excellent. I'd switched from Chicago to New York, and I'm glad that it seems to have resolved it. Perhaps just restarting the stream did it, but taking a look, 3 kills, 540 damage from the Supernova. Taras Kedig definitely getting that damage downfield, but 620 out of Nick Drezery in that summoner. Those summoners starting right off the bat doing some really good trades
butt right now.
They got up quick, and they were firing non-stop pretty much that entire match, and they were fresh at the end. Seeing that, even having your light mechs alive, seeing those 2 fresh summoners at the end of that match, especially when White Death Mercenary Company was down mechs, that was looking like that was starting to come to a close pretty quick. Kirku in the Arctic Cheetah pulling 463 damage, 2 kills, so definitely did some work himself, but just looked to me like RJF Black Spikes had that one under control from start to finish. Really starting with allowing White Death Mercenary to take Theta, but still maintaining the 3 cap by sneaking that assassin up right off the bat. A risky play, obviously. If White Death Mercenary Company decided they were going to go full brawl, they could have taken it right to Russian CGF and Black Spikes. They could have taken it right to him, and that assassin then would have had to rejoin the fight, but it looked like he was positioning himself in a way where he could both control that extra cap point as well as still join if a push happens. So just to take a quick look at the map here, they had the summoners jump up Charlie Lance, immediately jump jetting up, and essentially sending shots downfield right off the bat into the Charlie Lance of White Death Mercenary Company, who started in Charlie Lance in Team 2. Not a lot of damage right off the bat, but really it's forcing White Death Mercenary Company to kind of avoid conflict, to, as they move up,
bottle up a little bit.
You know, they had to kind of protect themselves as they approached and really think about that incoming fire, because you can't just let them work you like that. And so that in itself causing a little bit of a delay to getting those White Death Mercenary Company mechs up to the front. Didn't impact a lot, shaved off a couple percent, but really it gets in their head when they are immediately getting pelted by PPCs, and it was hitting accurately as well. So that was more of a fire for effect coming out of RJF and Black Spikes, but it was effective at least in forcing those mechs to kind of behave differently as they approached the conflict. So they did send all of their mechs up to Theta region right off the bat to take it. So they had Sigma easily, and then they had Theta. But of course we had the movement by that assassin to come in and take Epsilon, Gamma, and of course they had Kappa. So that right off the bat forces White Death Mercenary Company to respond. And we are, of course, watching for the map vote screen once they are ready, so we will be switching to that. If we have to break in, we will, of course, do so, because we want to show you what map they will be doing in Drop 2. But it forces White Death Mercenary Company to respond, so they send somebody off to Epsilon to go take that back, and they actually were going to continue on to Gamma, it appeared, but heads up play, they immediately moved up and took Sigma, maintaining that 3 cap. I don't think they ever managed to get Gamma, and then really they pulled off of Theta. They had like the Kodiak here, they had the Marauder 2C there. They kind of played a little bit of a passive look at Theta.
Yeah, but I mean, that's such a bad position to be in, though, because you're stuck kind of on those ramps and the low ground. If you're going to pull off Theta, you've got to pull far enough off that you can kind of get some cover to engage and not just give RJF the ability to get up on Theta and shoot down on you.
The only thing I can think of is I have a feeling that they had Theta and those stinking summoners up on Cakes able to get a high position and just continue wailing on anybody over this cover.
You can jump jet high enough in summoners that you can shoot down over that cover too.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. They're up on Cakes, they're jumping over the cover, they're putting pelts onto Theta, and it essentially forced them off the ramp. Now, we saw that movement once they took Epsilon. White Death Mercenary Company went and took Epsilon to try and retrieve a 3 cap. They shifted guys off to Sigma, but they also went up and pressured Theta with a majority of their force. They set themselves up with a bit of a concave here, so they had mechs on Theta in a curve. So then when that Marauder 2C and that Kodiak attempted to penetrate, and they then, of course, sent their Nova up the right side, they went right into a kill box. This little area on this ramp here is it's horrible when you've got multiple people with guns trained on that position across Theta. That Kodiak didn't stand a chance. They did get their Nova up that right side. He did eventually get legged, but they were doing some work over there. And then we saw the light mechs then come in behind that Marauder 2C and really force him down, especially once that Kodiak was killed. Just really good heads-up play by RJF Black Spikes to control the battlefield and really force White Death Mercenary Company into the kill boxes that they set up for them on the fly.
Yeah, and the whole match from start to finish there, it really felt like RJF was dictating the terms of the engagement, right? They got the early caps, they spread out a little bit, they had some of their light mechs kind of in the backfield, just keeping an eye on White Death Mercenary Company in their location on Theta, but it just felt in control.
So we got Polar, Tourmaline banned right off the bat, HPG Manifold. Are we going to go back to Mining Collective? We are. Drop to Mining Collective. Teams have swapped. Some might consider the Team 1 side to be a little bit stronger on this map. So there's a good possibility now that teams have swapped that White Death Mercenary Company feels that they're going to be able to use that strong side and try and control the battlefield just like RJF did. Does RJF have a plan from the Team 2 side to really take that control back away from White Death Mercenary Company? Some of the key positions here, of course, we call these cakes. This entire platform really, though, gives a lot of really good high-up sight lines into the D5 region, overwatch of Theta, and good protection against an E4 push. It's a very, very strong position, very good to trade from. You are playing off of Theta, though, so you tend to give Theta up to the opponent when you're setting up there. But you almost want to, in a way, because it allows you to just maybe
and kind
put
of
them
the
in
counter
that
to
kill box.
that is playing, you know, grab Theta, protect Theta, and do a 3 cap or even try and do a 4 cap map control.
Yeah, Gamma cannot really effectively be controlled from that Cakes region. They only had the one assassin controlling that, and to be fair, White Death Mercenary Company attempted to go control that, but the response to that was they came off of Cakes and they moved themselves up onto Theta, and that was a hard counter to the Gamma Epsilon push by White Death Mercenary Company. But they only had the Assassin over there. They could have maybe sent their lights to control Epsilon and Gamma. Did they have an Assassin on the White Death side at all? Do you remember if we saw an Assassin?
That was a Nova.
They had dual Novas. They brought dual Novas.
Novas.
So the Assassin seems to be used in the current meta for a little bit more of a map control capping mech. It's definitely quick. And we've been seeing it moving into that role by bringing dual Novas and essentially, I guess, bringing a more brawly push deck with those dual Novas. You've given up that map control capability because you've got the dual Arctic Cheetahs and the Assassin able to control the map much better than the just dual Arctic Cheetahs of the White Death side. And that's really why I think that we saw that 3-cap so effectively held by RJF.
Yeah. In that situation, I think what White Death got into, you know, either you try and counter by holding the cap, like you said, or you just got to be aggressive, but you got to be aggressive early on. You can't let that early damage just add up. White Death kind of moved up to Theta in an aggressive group and then got bogged down and pinned down on that last one. It'll be interesting to see when they're switching sides, do they play it like RJF just did and try with the cakes, the control, kind of more range, or do they say, now that we have the ideal spot for control, we're going to push because we know that, you know, RJF can't sit up there, and they be more aggressive. In their first match, White Death Mercenary Company was very aggressive against Phoenix Legion. So
did not work in their favor, though.
It didn't work in their favor, but they definitely played aggressive, and I wonder if they're going to continue to do so. That last match was a little bit of an aberration, I think, more than anything for them.
Are they bringing Gauss Night Gears is the question, against ATMs. Yeah. I mean, I think that one really came down to being too aggressive into a deck that was meant for shorter range than you are, and it did not work in their favor, of course. So, Game 2, teams have switched White Death Mercenary Company back on their heels. If they lose this drop, they will be dropped from the World Championship bracket, and RJF will, of course, move on through the losers bracket, trying to claw their way back up to the top. But really, it's win or go home right now. We'll get that pip going. Win or go home for White Death Mercenary Company. All right, so we are over on the RJF side. Supernova, Summoner. Not a lot. I don't see any changes here. They have a Hunchback 2CA. Did they have that Hunchback in there before?
Was that the 4ER large?
Possibly.
They did have a 4ER large Hunchback 2C on RJF, sitting back, way back, the back of the map, just getting shots in Theta.
Let's take a look at this. He is bringing 2 ER larges and 6 ER medium lasers in that Hunchback. That's
okay, so a little bit different build out than he had 4 ER larges before. White Death has the same deck.
Yep, we're seeing those dual Novas charging right up the middle. Not a lot of shots going back and forth right off the bat. The Arctic Cheetah is taking Gamma. Epsilon falls to. There's that Assassin doing that map control thing again. And, of course, Theta goes to immediate control. Dual Arctic Cheetahs charging right up to Theta. They cap it and run. And I think we're going to see these PPCs attempting to control the cap point as CHRX goes up to try and swap it back. Oh, nasty airstrike. CHRX already down to 82 or 59%. They attempted to recap Theta, and this firing line by RJF is denying them that privilege, and not only denying him, but putting out some massive damage to CHRX here. Let's take a look at his paper doll. His head got hit by that one. Pretty nasty hit there.
Gotta be careful not getting shot in the back there running around.
So one of the Novas is going off to the left side. They kind of look like they're expecting a push or something on that left side. He's doing a little bit of jump peeking, but some amazing... Oh, jeez. A Nova gets nailed by an airstrike. This
White
is
Death
some...
looks like they're moving forward, but they've got a long way to go to get engagement with all of RJF's team.
A really nice airstrike, though. I think it hit all 3 of these mechs right down the line. That's kind of a disadvantage of this position. You don't have anywhere to run. So if they can keep rolling those airstrikes in, they might be able to do some significant damage back to RJF. But so far, RJF seems to be controlling this battle and putting out quite a bit of damage. Not looking good for White Death. They need to start putting something together here. Ko on that left side with that Gauss Night Gear, trading with Supernova on the left side.
Fresh Supernova.
And I think he is losing that battle.
Damage until he engaged.
Nice airstrike across that Kodiak. They're starting to put their damage back into RJF. Can they do it enough? Oh, we got a Nova charging right down the middle. Looks like he's trying to flush out that assassin. Risky play, but he's actually getting into his weapon's optimal range here. 2 caps to 2 caps, not really a factor. Burya in the Arctic Cheetah, he's putting some pressure. We're going to have a nice strike here. It looks like an arty strike right on the Arctic Cheetah and Nova, and the first one goes down. That Night Gear loses the fight to the Supernova, only able to get him down to 93%. Supernova now moving up, and they have got this Nova and this Arctic Cheetah in a pretty nasty bind.
And the Nova, one of the Novas, Rabajaba, is about to lose his other arm and all of his weapons, and he's barely engaged at this point.
Oh, they've got an Arctic Cheetah coming into the main body. Pelmashek coming in, jumping over the top with machine guns, getting in and hitting that Night Gear. That is going to hurt. They've got these guys very hurt. Den Airwalker coming in as well. The assassin, and they are ripping up the main body. Night Gear going down 26%.
Kodiak's next target, and he is getting torn to pieces by these machine guns.
They are in there, and they're shredding him up. This is not looking good at all for White Death Mercenary Company. These machine guns are starting to get their crits. They're finding their mark. Pelmashek chasing around one of the Archeetas. 3 mechs remaining, and this is going to be a very, very clean win by RJF. I'm going to go ahead and call it there. There's no way White Death is coming back with only 2 extremely hurt mechs remaining. One of them, I think, is sticked at this point.
One's legged and one sticked.
And that is it! White Death Mercenary Company losing in 2 games to RJF Black Spikes, and they are out of the World Championship. Well played, RJF. Extremely good.
Very well.
Control of Theta, landing their shots, and the damage was insane. Elysium pulling quite a bit of damage, 793 in that Supernova. 626 and 2 kills by the other Supernova. Those guys did work. They won that fight against that Night Gear off on the left side. Ko only pulling 259. The Supernova was just too much. Seems to be a really solid mech in the current meta, and I've been seeing a lot of it.
Summoners have been doing very well in the tournament so far.
Absolutely. And White Death Mercenary Company, unfortunately for them, not able to come up with an answer. RJF's control over Theta, and really not even just controlling Theta, but punishing anyone that attempted to get it. Started setting that in motion and setting that on the path to victory for RJF early on in that match. And then once again, RJF just controlling the map, getting the 3 cap, not allowing White Death Mercenary Company to get comfortable. And that was absolutely
And they responded very well to the pushes that White Death did. White Death correctly decided, we can't sit here, we can't trade against these guys, we need to be aggressive. The whole time RJF is rotating, they're moving their mechs. That's something I think that gets forgotten in some of these engagements, especially, you know, in quick play, group play, that sort of thing. You got guys trading, and they're trading really well, but just because you're trading well in one spot doesn't mean that you can just stay there and sit there all day, and especially not at this level. You always have to be repositioning, always thinking about where you're headed next. RJF was constantly one step ahead of White Death Mercenary Company in that match and in the first match today.
Absolutely. They were certainly dominant. Let's take a look at the map real quick just to show how that all went down. Definitely a lot less early damage coming in from White Death Mercenary Company in Drop 2. RJF was taking advantage of that early damage in Drop 1. Didn't look like they gave them the pleasure. Really setting up on this was the main force here for RJF. They also had their Supernova working off to the side, and then really just getting that early light push straight up Theta. No answer. There, of course, is just a set of buildings here. You can't see over those properly. And once they control Theta, they're able to hit it from that D5 region and just continue wailing on anyone that attempts. They had great strikes. That Arctic Cheetah got punished hard for attempting to countercap. They didn't leave their lights on Theta to control it. They got them out immediately and trusted that their range mechs were going to be able to put those shots on target, and it worked fantastic.
With the ability to pause the cap points by doing damage on them, you can do that. You just have to get the cap point. If you have vision on it, then you can stop the cap.
Absolutely. So then they started doing some trading. They had the night gear posted up. That's the wrong color. Night gear posted up right here. Trading into that supernova. He did not win that 1v1, which was, if he did pull that off, maybe it could have gone differently for them. But unfortunately for him, he could not pull it off. Gauss rifles versus that kind of laser vomit, just too much. They pushed one of their lights in their Nova up, and they were kind of pinned down here, especially as we saw after that night gear fell. The Supernova was able to kind of work his way out and get shots in on that flank. And then we saw the light mechs for RJF then come swooping in over the top of the main body in that Team 4 region and just tear them to shreds. Enough damage has gone downfield.
It's brutal.
Yeah, I think one of them's 6 machine guns and 3 ER Meads in that Arctic Cheetah, and it is just crit seeking. It is a massive amount of machine guns, and as soon as components get opened up, it is not long before you see components start getting ripped off of those mechs. Once those guys got in there, there was no longer a firing line for White Death Mercenary Company. They were in full-on survival mode. The main trade mechs were able to quickly dispatch or at least suppress the Novas that moved up into D5. Well, the Arctic Cheetahs then, those Novas would have been really handy to have when those Arctic Cheetahs jumped into the fight.
Yeah.
But they had them up because they were trying to pressure the poke deck mechs in D5, and they weren't able to effectively do that. And those Arctic Cheetahs ran around rampant and unchecked and were able to just basically seal the deal on that fight. We've been seeing lights do quite a bit of work once they actually get in there into the scrum and start shredding mechs down lately in the matches we've seen so far. So what?
Yeah, the light mechs nowadays, you've got to use them appropriately, but they are the ultimate cleanup mechs at this point. I mean,
it's the Spider 5K all over again, except it seems to be
the winning strategy we've seen every time. You trade, you do your airstrikes, you do your damage, and you keep your light mechs out of trouble. You have to hold on to your light mechs until the end game, and then you send, 2 Arctic Cheetahs in with a bunch of machine guns against 6 mechs, and they're gone in a minute because they're all opened up, they're all damaged, and you've got these relatively fresh light mechs. I really wish that White Death Mercenary Company with those Novas had been maybe a little more patient. By the time that they really gave the call for those Novas to do their main push, I mean, one of them had already lost an arm, which is half your weapons on a Nova. The other one, they're both beat up. They're coming forward. They've got a long terrain to cross. Novas really work now best as kind of those surprise mechs, right? You kind of hide them in a corner somewhere. You try and draw the enemy team in, and then 2 fresh Novas jump out of nowhere, and they've got 12 small lasers, and they rip you to shreds. When you're trying to push with Novas, that's hard to do because everyone knows those arms are where all the weapons are, and they don't have as much armor as like a torso.
I think, though, at that point, they were feeling the pressure. They were way down on damage. They were failing on the trade game. Things were not looking good. I think sending those Novas to the front was more of a desperation attempt to just try and break up the firing line of RJF. Keeping them back, I don't think, would have really done anything for them at all because RJF was not going to be pushing into those Novas. They had absolutely no reason to. White Death Mercenary Company did not have control of the map. RJF, once again in Drop 2, dictating the battlefield. They were fighting them where they wanted them, and that alone was setting their victory in motion, and it was just really solid gameplay coming out of RJF, and White Death, unfortunately, did not have an answer for it on Mining Collective, and They weren't even able to play to the strengths of Team 1. They weren't playing a really good range game off of Cakes. They had no control over Theta from Cakes. And they weren't also surprising RJF with a really hard brawl push or anything like that, knowing that RJF was not able to necessarily set up a really solid. That D5 region is strong, but it's not impenetrable compared to Cakes. It could be rushed up on if you went aggressive. White Death Mercenary Company did neither. They loosely traded into RJF, and they lost the trade game, and just did not come up with an answer.
It feels like in all 4 of the matches for White Death Mercenary Company that we've watched so far, they took up a aggressive staging position, right, where they're grouping up like they're ready to just push in there and try and steamroll someone, except they haven't really had the decks for kind of a fast brawl so far, and they've never really moved outside of that staging position, right? It's like they get right to the edge, like they're about to jump in the water sort of thing, and then they kind of hang out there.
And I think it's because they start getting pelted by strikes, and they started getting completely mauled down by really solid trading in from RJF, and it gets in their heads. It stops them from making a commitment to a play.
And that being said, though, RJF is playing extremely well right now. They took 1 match out of 3 there from Eon Synergy on Thursday, which Eon Synergy was our 2nd place finisher in last year's tournament. And I think, honestly, today they played a crisper game than they did on Thursday against Eon. And the games against Eon were close. They've been playing. So White Death, they'll go back and look at that, hopefully, and kind of think some different strategies up for next year. Maybe if they go back to MRBC, upcoming seasons, they'll kind of change up some things. But I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of to losing to RJF right now, because they are playing, honestly, maybe the best that I've seen RJF play.
Absolutely. And they are going to have another chance to move